Islamist gangs are apparently running the prisons in the United Kingdom, and that should come as no surprise to us because we understand that this woke Labour government have been pandering to the Muslim community. You get away with doing whatever you want, don't worry, we will be by your side. I've covered it on this channel several times. They can do no wrong. And we see that they are a large monopoly in the prison system. You know, they control a lot. We understand this, we know this. I'll even put on your screen right now of a guy, I believe it was an English guy, who done something, I believe he killed a pig or done something with bacon. He went to prison and he was X'd. They took him out because, you know, the Muslim Brotherhood in prison were like, hang on, he done that? Okay, cool, we're taking him out. And that's how his demise went. So it's a shame to see that there's such a monopoly in the UK prison system. Not even just the UK prison system, in the UK political scene, socially, politically, economically, they are so powerful. You know, Birmingham Council have bins outside, but yet Tahir Ali is worried about an airport in Pakistan. You know, he should be worried about his constituents, but he just don't care, and he's not going to be held to account for anything he's doing. But anyway, guys, we're going to be watching Peter Bleksley, a former Met police detective, talk about what's really going on. He's a former police detective, so he's going to know it, and he has links inside that are going to be feeding him information. So if anyone knows anything, it's him. So he's going to be talking about what's going on, the whole situation. And yeah, I'll come with my outro at the end.
Right, let's get the thoughts of my A-star panel here. Journalist and communications advisor, Linda Jubilee, former Met Police detective, Peter Bleksley, former Labour special advisor, Paul Richards. Peter, I want to start with you. How on earth have we got to a point where Islamic extremists are supposedly, according to reports, running Britain's prisons?
Because about 18% of the prison population are Muslim. That's why they're a significant proportion. And of course, many of those locked up are for the most heinous crimes committed against the British public, acts of terrorism, mass murder. And of course, these people are absolute fanatics. There is no rehabilitation of these people. It is their life quest and, of course, their death quest, because they think they will be rewarded in death for the sins that they have bestowed upon the great British people. So, yes, anybody with half an ear attached to the criminal justice system will tell you that this is actually happening. And quite simply, I see no possibility at the moment with the current leadership within prisons, with the poorly paid staff, poorly trained, under-resourced, who are, quite frankly, doing anything for a quiet life so they get home intact to their families, not running these jails as they should be done. I fear for the future.
Yeah, Paul, this is really shocking stuff. And we keep seeing these headlines. Year after year, we keep hearing about it. It's clearly getting worse. In my opinion, the Tories did little to stop it. What's Labour going to do you think?
I mean, I certainly echo those points about the prison officers who are underpaid and have terrible time. We haven't had the investment in that we need. Yeah. Interesting that is yet again generating headlines. I said this last week. You know, Kemi's where is she? But Robert Jenrick's making the news. In terms of the actual issue, I can remember when I was in government, this being an issue 15 years ago. So the fact that this is going on, the radicalisation is going on in prison, we've been aware of this for an awfully long time. It's not new news, it is deeply worrying, but the problem is, what do you do? Because, like Peter says, some of the Islamist ideology is so embedded in people's heads that actually they're irreconcilable. They just be locked up for the rest of the time.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it, Linda? Yeah. Because they're turning these prisons into recruitment grounds, and these people eventually, a lot of these people are British citizens. They're born here.
The problem is you've got an exponential growth here. I hear what Paul is saying. The problem has been around, but it is growing fast. And it's now a profoundly disturbing issue. I mean, and it's not just prisons. I've made mention before that I've been inside hotels delivering women's empowerment programmes.
I've been inside. I thought you were going to say that. That would have been a revelation.
Don't put me off. No. So I know for a fact that incendiary situation also exists inside some hotels, because the borough commander has used exactly that word you used, a powder keg. Yep. But the idea that it might be going on in a maximum security jail Israel is profoundly worrying, because I don't really know what you can do to try and cope with this. But I do know that because of some of the work I've done in communications advice, there is huge concern that people won't raise a red flag because they are concerned that the race card will be played against them. And that's what's behind people doing nothing.
Does that come down to the training for the prison staff there? Because they need to understand there is a difference between being a Muslim and just doing your worship and all the rest of it, and Islamist ideology, which is an anti-West ideology,
but how
rooted in the idea they want to destroy the civilization.
How are they allowed to set up Sharia courts?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it, Peter? Because look, it seems to me, I mean, obviously Jonathan Hall, Casey, there, and multiple credits to the Times as well for these big exposés. They're saying that prison authorities are essentially too scared to speak out because of Islamophobia, which is exactly what we heard about the rape gangs, by the way. I mean, is this bureaucracy just getting out of control again?
It is, but another aspect coming into play here, which you might be rather surprised to hear, is the real downgrading of blue-collar workers, which has happened for the past couple of decades, because the educated intellectual elite that run this country look down upon people who do frontline jobs like being a prison officer. Back in the day, you'd earn a decent wage, you'd be very well trained, supported by experienced staff, and it was a career you could do for life and retire on a decent pension. But no, because you're not one of the educated elite, they look down at you. There's intellectual snobbery coming into play here. It's the same rot across policing, but they, of course, are all deluding themselves because they're all rushing off to get degrees while policing gets worse. But it is. The downgrading of blue-collar workers is actually a fundamental part of this concern.
But do you think that some people are keeping their mouths shut because they do fear that they will be criticised for...
Yes, because the utterly intolerant DEI wokery brigade will drum you out of your job. If you say, for example, there's a bloke in a frock, OK, you will get absolutely drummed out of your job, ostracised, cancelled for calling a bloke in a frock. And so it goes on. And while we have this intolerant kind of elitism amongst DEI departments, HR, call themselves what they will, where people are terrified to say what they think and what is the truth, then I'm afraid the rot is just going to set in even deeper.
Yeah, Paul, what do you make of that? Because, we spoke a lot about DEI and wokeism and how it's destroying, sensible institutions like the prison service. It should be quite straightforward to run a prison, really, isn't it? Keep the inmates in line and stop them from organising into gangs. But again, we're talking decades on from the first stories about this, and it seems the bureaucracy's again creeped in.
But the argument here is that you need to understand what Islamism is and what it is not in order to tackle it. And I don't think that education is going on inside the prison service.
Right, so you think it's an issue with the education of the prison authorities?
Well, I think it's having the ability to spot when somebody has been radicalised, when they're being, when the texts are coming out, the sort of, the anti-Semitic texts, the anti-West ideology.
But surely they know if there's a serious terrorist in a Category A prison that they're going to harbour really harsh, radicalised views. Surely they do.
It would seem from the evidence not.
If you go to prison for committing mass murder at London Bridge and such like, right, it's pretty clear who you are, what you stand for and what you want to do to this country.
But that's a tiny minority. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who have been radicalised in prison or going in...
Yeah, by exactly the sort of people I've just been talking about, who spread their evil, wicked bile amongst others and then frighten them into converting into Islam.
I mean, no, it's not about converting to Islam either. It's about people who are getting into a ideology which is called Islamism.
OK, all right, well, moving on. Anyway, there's loads more to unpack on this, by the way. This is going to be an evolving story.
So it's just crazy. When will the West wake up? I have no idea. I don't think they'll wake up. I think it's too far gone now. And yeah, people just want to feel safe in this country that aren't Muslims. And if you look at the growing number of converts, if you look at the growing number of what's going on, and when I say converts, I'm not saying that they're listening to, they're sitting down and they really want to be Muslim. They're getting it drummed into their heads. And once you're in Islam, you can't leave, because if you leave and you're an apostate of Islam, then whoo, boom, that's what they believe in, that you should be gone. So yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know when all of this will stop, but let's just hope some common sense can be brought back into the UK's judicial system and politics, and they can stop this and just govern the country how the country should be governed. UK was founded upon Christian values. That's it. It should always be a Christian nation, and it should support Christianity. And that's just it. That's just what I believe. If you want to come to the UK, adhere to the principles, adhere to and respect the religion that has made this country a place where you want to come and live. And that's it. But if you're coming and bring your ideology, you're trying to change things, you're trying to change it to, you know, a way of living which is not compatible with the ways Christians live, which is, you know, just love, peace, care, then no, you know, no one wants to have that. So yeah. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.